Everyone laughed when the company's beautiful executive admitted she had accidentally married the office janitor. 3 minutes later, the board of directors stood up, bowed to him, and called him chairman. The wedding lasted less than 20 minutes. There was no orchestra, no crystal chandeliers, no guests cheering as the couple exchanged vows. Only a tired government clerk, 2 witnesses scrolling through their phones, and the quiet sound of rain tapping against the courthouse windows. Daniel Carter adjusted the sleeve of his inexpensive gray suit. It was neatly pressed, but clearly old. The cuffs had faded from years of use, and the leather shoes beneath his trousers had been polished so many times that tiny cracks had begun to show. Across from him stood Isabella Sterling. She looked as though she belonged on the cover of a luxury magazine. Her tailored white coat, elegant posture, and calm expression made her appear completely out of place inside the small government office. She didn't smile. She barely looked at him. The clerk pushed the marriage certificate across the desk. "Sign here." Daniel signed first. His handwriting was steady. Isabella hesitated for only a second before signing her own name. The clerk stamped the document. "Congratulations, you're now legally married." There was no kiss, no photographs, no celebration. Isabella quietly picked up her handbag. "This changes nothing," she said without emotion. Daniel nodded. "I understand." She looked at him for the first time. "You know why we're doing this. My grandfather's condition." She gave a small nod. Her grandfather, the founder of Sterling Group, had suffered another heart attack 2 weeks earlier. His only wish was to see his granddaughter married before undergoing another dangerous surgery. But Isabella refused every wealthy businessman her family introduced. Then, one unexpected afternoon, she met Daniel. He had quietly returned the wallet she accidentally dropped outside a subway station. He never asked for a reward. He simply smiled and walked away. That tiny act of honesty stayed in her mind. When she needed someone trustworthy for a temporary marriage, she remembered him. It wasn't love, it wasn't romance, it was an agreement. 1 year. No interference in each other's lives. After that, they would quietly divorce. Daniel accepted without negotiating. Not because he needed money, not because he expected love, but because he respected an old man's final wish. Outside the courthouse, the rain had become heavier. Isabella unlocked her luxury sedan. "I'll have someone transfer the monthly compensation we agreed on." Daniel shook his head. "I don't need it." She frowned. "You signed a contract. I signed because you needed help. You still deserve payment." "I have a job." She looked at his worn backpack. "What do you do?" "I'm a maintenance worker." She assumed he meant janitor. She didn't ask any further. A black umbrella shielded her from the rain as she entered the driver's seat. Daniel declined when she offered him a ride. "I'll take the bus." She watched him walk toward the crowded station without once looking back. For reasons she couldn't explain, she felt slightly guilty. Monday morning arrived with bright sunshine. Sterling Group headquarters stood like a monument of glass and steel in the center of the financial district. Thousands of employees hurried through its revolving doors every morning. Luxury cars lined the private entrance reserved for executives. Daniel arrived from the opposite side of the street carrying a simple lunchbox. He entered through the employee entrance without attracting attention. Inside the maintenance office, Supervisor Harris tossed him a work schedule. "Executive floor today." Daniel accepted it politely. Understood. He changed into the dark blue maintenance uniform, picked up a cleaning cart, and rode the service elevator toward the 48th floor. Meanwhile, the executive elevator opened. Isabella stepped out wearing a navy business suit that immediately drew respectful greetings. "Good morning, Vice President Sterling." "Morning." She acknowledged everyone with professional calm. Today was her first day back after the quiet wedding. Only 3 people knew she had gotten married, or so she believed. Inside the executive lounge, whispers had already begun. "I heard she actually got married." "Impossible." "Who's the lucky billionaire?" "My cousin works in legal. They say the husband isn't rich at all." Someone laughed. "Maybe he's royalty." Another employee smirked. "Or maybe she secretly married a janitor." The room erupted with laughter. No one noticed Daniel quietly pushing his cleaning cart past the open doorway. He heard every word. His expression never changed. Years of experience had taught him something valuable. People often revealed their true character when they believed someone was beneath them. He continued polishing the marble floor. Minutes later, the executive meeting began. Department directors gathered around the massive conference table. One chair remained empty. The chairman's seat. No one questioned it. The mysterious chairman almost never attended meetings personally. Only the board communicated directly with him. Even Isabella had never met him face to face. During the presentation, marketing director Victor Lang leaned back confidently. He had pursued Isabella for nearly 2 years. Her sudden marriage humiliated him. "So," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "I heard congratulations are in order." Several executives smiled awkwardly. Isabella remained composed. "Thank you." Victor crossed his arms. "When do we get to meet your husband?" She answered calmly. That isn't relevant to today's meeting. Oh, come on. The room became uncomfortably quiet. I've heard interesting rumors, he grinned. They say he's just a maintenance worker. A few executives lowered their eyes. Someone chuckled. Victor continued. I suppose true love really is blind. Laughter spread around the room. Outside the glass walls, Daniel continued quietly replacing a damaged ceiling light. He heard every word. He didn't react. Inside the meeting room, Isabella's fingers tightened slightly around her pen. Not because she was embarrassed, but because she suddenly remembered something. Daniel had never once pretended to be someone important. He had never asked for status, never complained, never demanded anything. He had simply helped her. The people mocking him knew absolutely nothing about his character. For the first time, she wondered if she had judged him too quickly. At that exact moment, far below the building, a convoy of black luxury vehicles slowly entered Sterling Group's private underground garage. Security guards immediately straightened. Board members hurried toward the private elevator. One whispered nervously, Chairman Carter has arrived. No employee on the executive floors knew that the mysterious chairman, whose face almost no one had ever seen, was already inside the building. And within the next few hours, the company would discover that the quiet maintenance worker everyone ignored carried a name that would change every life in the tower. The executive meeting ended in an uneasy silence. Victor Lang walked out with the same arrogant smile he had worn throughout the presentation. As he passed the maintenance area, he noticed Daniel tightening the final screw on a ceiling light. Victor stopped. You. Daniel looked down from the ladder. Yes, sir. Victor pointed toward the conference room. The floor is dirty. Clean it before the board arrives. Daniel glanced at the spotless marble floor. It was cleaned 15 minutes ago. Victor's smile disappeared. Are you questioning me? No. Then clean it again. Daniel climbed down without arguing. Of course. Victor smirked. That's better. As he walked away, several employees exchanged uncomfortable looks. Everyone knew Victor enjoyed reminding lower-ranking workers of their place. Daniel simply filled a bucket with clean water and quietly began mopping the already spotless floor. He didn't seem angry. He didn't seem humiliated. He worked with the same calm precision as before. From the glass corridor, Isabella watched the entire exchange. Something about it bothered her. She stepped closer. Victor turned. Yes? The floor was already cleaned. Victor shrugged. I know. Then why make him do it again? It's called discipline, his voice lowered. Besides, if he's really your husband, he smiled sarcastically. You should appreciate that I'm helping him improve. Several nearby employees laughed. Isabella's expression turned cold. He's an employee of this company, so? He deserves basic respect, Victor chuckled. Respect is earned. Daniel quietly continued working as if he hadn't heard either of them. When Isabella approached him, he looked up politely. You don't have to do this. It's all right. It isn't, he smiled faintly. Sometimes it's easier to finish a pointless task than argue with someone determined to create one. His answer surprised her. There was no bitterness, no complaint, only quiet maturity. For a moment, she couldn't think of a reply. Meanwhile, inside Sterling Group's private executive elevator, 6 members of the board of directors stood in complete silence. No one checked their phones, no one spoke. Even after years of serving the company, Chairman Carter's unexpected visit still made everyone nervous. Director Evans cleared his throat. Has anyone confirmed today's schedule? Director Wilson nodded. The chairman requested that nobody announce his arrival. And the executive team? They're unaware. Another director smiled. He likes observing people before they know who's watching. Everyone understood why. The chairman believed a person's true character appeared only when they thought power wasn't present. Back on the executive floor, Daniel pushed his maintenance cart toward the employee cafeteria. The lunch rush had already begun. Executives occupied one side of the room. Maintenance workers, cleaners, and security staff sat quietly near the back. Daniel always chose the same corner table. He unpacked a simple homemade lunch: rice, grilled vegetables, chicken. Nothing extravagant. As he prepared to eat, an elderly janitor named Mr. Lewis struggled to carry a heavy water container. Without hesitation, Daniel stood. I'll help. Together they lifted it onto the dispenser. Mr. Lewis smiled. Thank you, no problem. Nearby employees barely noticed. Acts of kindness rarely attracted attention, boasting always did. At another table, Victor laughed loudly with several department managers. He deliberately raised his voice. I heard maintenance workers are getting promoted these days. More laughter followed. Someone asked, really? Victor nodded dramatically. Apparently all you need is the right marriage. Several people looked toward Daniel. Some laughed, others looked away in embarrassment. Daniel continued eating peacefully. Mr. Lewis frowned. They're trying to provoke you. Daniel took another bite. They can only succeed if I let them. The old janitor smiled. I've always admired that about you. Across the cafeteria, Isabella watched everything. She expected Daniel to lose his temper. Instead, he remained completely calm. She suddenly remembered something her grandfather often said. The loudest person in the room usually has the weakest character. Looking around, she realized how true those words were. That afternoon, a company-wide announcement echoed through the building. Attention all departments. The board of directors will conduct an unscheduled inspection. Immediately, managers rushed to organize paperwork. Employees hurried back to their desks. Victor straightened his expensive suit. This is perfect. He looked toward Isabella. The board will finally see which departments deserve recognition. He smiled confidently. My division won't disappoint. Neither of them noticed Daniel quietly replacing another damaged light fixture outside the executive offices. Inside the private elevator, Chairman Carter removed a pair of ordinary reading glasses. Instead of wearing a luxury suit, he had chosen a simple charcoal-colored jacket. He preferred blending in. Director Evans looked confused. Sir, yes? Wouldn't it be easier if employees recognized you? The chairman smiled. If they know who I am, they'll perform for me. I prefer seeing who they really are. The elevator doors opened, without security escorts, without fanfare. The most powerful man in Sterling Group stepped into the hallway. Employees walked past him without a second glance, exactly as he preferred. He observed everything. Managers ignoring junior staff. Executives taking credit for other people's work. Workers helping one another without expecting praise. Every detail mattered. Then, he stopped. Down the hallway, a maintenance worker had quietly stepped aside to allow an elderly employee to pass first. The chairman smiled. I see. Director Wilson followed his gaze. Do you know him, sir? Chairman Carter's eyes remained fixed on the young man. I've known him longer than anyone here could imagine. The directors exchanged puzzled glances. None of them understood why the chairman's usually calm expression had softened. Only one thought crossed his mind. My grandson hasn't changed at all. And for the first time in years, the chairman decided it was almost time for the truth to come into the light. Far across the hallway, Daniel looked up briefly. For a split second, his eyes met the chairman's. Neither man spoke, but a small respectful nod passed between them. No one else noticed. Not Isabella, not Victor, not a single executive. Yet that silent exchange had just set into motion an event that would shake the entire company before the day was over. The atmosphere inside Sterling Group changed the moment the board of directors began its surprise inspection. Managers who had ignored emails all week suddenly walked through their departments with forced smiles. Employees who rarely left their offices now greeted everyone they passed. Even Victor Lang became unusually polite. Daniel noticed the change immediately. People hadn't become kinder, they had simply become cautious. He quietly continued replacing ceiling lights along the executive corridor. On the 48th floor, Chairman Carter walked beside the board of directors. No cameras followed them. No assistants announced their arrival. He wanted honesty, not performances. The first department they visited belonged to human resources. The director proudly presented charts, employee satisfaction reports, and awards displayed across the conference room walls. Chairman Carter listened without expression. When the presentation ended, he asked only one question. How many names of your junior employees do you know? The director blinked. I'm sorry, the people who work under you. Silence filled the room. The director struggled to answer. I know, most of them. Chairman Carter smiled faintly. If you don't know their names, you probably don't know their value. Without another word, he walked out. The directors hurried after him. Behind them, the human resources director stood frozen. One simple question had revealed more than an hour-long presentation ever could. The inspection continued. Every department received the same unexpected treatment. Instead of asking about profits, the chairman asked about integrity. Instead of discussing revenue, he asked about teamwork. Instead of praising expensive projects, he watched how executives treated receptionists, assistants, cleaners, and security guards. Many failed without realizing it. Meanwhile, Victor Lang had prepared an elaborate presentation. His conference room featured expensive digital displays, polished reports, and luxury refreshments. Everything looked perfect. When the board entered, Victor greeted them confidently. Chairman, directors, welcome. Chairman Carter took a seat. Victor immediately began speaking. Our division exceeded quarterly expectations by 18%. We've secured premium clients and expanded our market share beyond projections. Slides filled the massive screen, charts, graphs, revenue forecasts. The presentation was flawless. When Victor finally finished, he smiled proudly. I believe this demonstrates our commitment to excellence. The room became quiet. Chairman Carter folded his hands. It demonstrates preparation. Victor nodded confidently. Thank you, Chairman, but I have another question. Of course. Chairman Carter looked directly into his eyes. This morning, how did you treat the maintenance employee outside this conference room? Victor's smile disappeared. Several directors slowly looked toward him. I don't understand. I'll repeat the question. How did you treat him? Victor forced a laugh. He was simply doing his job. Chairman Carter remained silent. One of the directors quietly placed a tablet on the table. A security recording began to play. The room watched in complete silence, Victor ordering Daniel to mop an already spotless floor. Victor mocking his position, Victor laughing while others joined in. The video ended, no one spoke. Victor's face turned pale. I was only joking. Chairman Carter leaned forward. A leader who humiliates those with less authority isn't leading. He's hiding insecurity behind power. Victor swallowed hard. Chairman, I can explain. I wasn't asking for an explanation. I was observing your character. For the first time in years, Victor had nothing to say. Outside the conference room, Daniel quietly replaced another light fixture. He had no idea the board was discussing him, or perhaps he simply didn't care. His work mattered more than recognition. Nearby, an intern accidentally dropped an entire box of company files. Hundreds of documents scattered across the polished floor. Several executives walked around the mess without stopping. Daniel immediately knelt beside her. It's all right. Together they gathered every file. The young intern looked embarrassed. I'm so sorry. He smiled. Mistakes happen. She looked at his maintenance uniform. Thank you. You didn't have to help. Daniel placed the final folder into the box. Everyone deserves help sometimes. From the opposite end of the hallway, Chairman Carter watched quietly through the glass wall. One director whispered, "Should we tell him you're here?" The chairman shook his head. No. He doesn't help people because I'm watching. He helps because that's who he is. The directors remained silent. Slowly, they began understanding why the chairman had insisted on today's inspection. Later that afternoon, the executive cafeteria filled once again. Employees discussed only one topic. The chairman embarrassed Victor. I've never seen anything like it. They say the board watched security footage. Someone's getting fired. Victor entered the cafeteria with a dark expression. The usual laughter disappeared. He noticed Daniel sitting quietly in his usual corner, for reasons he couldn't explain. Seeing the maintenance worker remain calm made him even angrier. He walked straight toward him. You. Daniel looked up. Yes, sir? Victor slammed a folder onto the table. I need these documents delivered to Archive Room B. Daniel glanced at the label. Archive Room B was moved to Building 3 last month. Victor frowned. What? The files belong in executive storage on floor 12. Several nearby employees looked surprised. Victor quickly checked the label. Daniel was right. For a brief second, Victor felt embarrassed. Instead of admitting it, he raised his voice. Then take him there. Daniel simply stood. I will. He carried the heavy folders away without another word. One employee quietly whispered, he just saved Victor from making another mistake. Another replied, and Victor still treated him badly. Across the cafeteria, Isabella watched silently. She had spent years judging people by confidence, appearance, and status. But today, the most composed man in the building wasn't wearing an expensive suit. He was wearing a maintenance uniform. For the first time, she found herself wondering who Daniel really was, because no ordinary man possessed that much patience, that much dignity, or that much quiet strength. As evening approached, the board gathered once more inside the chairman's private office. Director Evans looked toward Chairman Carter. Sir, today's inspection is complete. Chairman Carter nodded. It is. Shall we announce your successor now? The room became silent. The chairman slowly stood and walked toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Thousands of lights shimmered beneath the sunset. He smiled gently. Not yet. They still haven't learned the lesson, Director Wilson asked softly. And what lesson is that? Chairman Carter's reflection appeared in the glass. That greatness is rarely recognized while it's wearing ordinary clothes. He turned toward the board. Tomorrow morning, invite every executive to the Grand Assembly Hall. All departments. The directors nodded. Outside the office, the city lights began to glow. Inside the building, no one realized that tomorrow's assembly would become the most unforgettable day in Sterling Group's history. And by the time it ended, the man everyone called the janitor would no longer be invisible. By 8:30 the next morning, every executive at Sterling Group had received the same unexpected message. Mandatory executive assembly, attendance required, no explanation, no agenda, no exceptions. Within an hour, the Grand Assembly Hall was filled with more than 300 department heads, managers, senior executives, and board members. The room buzzed with speculation. Is there an acquisition? Did we lose a major client? I heard someone's being promoted. No. I heard the chairman is finally making a public appearance. That last rumor spread through the room like wildfire. In 10 years, very few employees had ever seen the mysterious Chairman Carter in person. Most knew him only through signatures on official documents. Even Isabella had never met him. She adjusted her navy blazer and took her reserved seat in the front row. Victor Lang sat only a few chairs away. Despite yesterday's embarrassment, he wore the same confident smile. It was just a misunderstanding, he whispered to another executive. The chairman won't remember something so insignificant. Across the hall, the maintenance department continued working. After all, someone still had to keep the building running. Daniel pushed his cleaning cart through the west corridor, replacing a burned-out light near the assembly hall entrance. Supervisor Harris approached him. "Daniel." "Yes, sir? The assembly will last at least an hour." Daniel nodded. "I'll finish maintenance on this floor while everyone's inside." "Good." Neither of them realized that today's schedule had been carefully arranged. Nothing about this morning was accidental. Inside the assembly hall, the lights dimmed, every conversation stopped. One by one, the members of the board of directors entered the stage. The audience stood respectfully. Finally, Chairman Carter walked onto the platform. The hall became completely silent. Many executives looked at him for the first time. An elderly man, calm eyes, simple charcoal suit, no expensive watch, no display of wealth. Yet his presence alone commanded absolute respect. He stepped to the podium. "Good morning." His voice was gentle, yet every word carried authority. For years, Sterling Group has been recognized as one of the nation's most successful companies. A large screen behind him displayed record-breaking profits, global expansion, and countless business awards. "We have achieved remarkable financial success." The screen went black. "But today, I don't wish to discuss profits." Confused glances spread across the audience. "I wish to discuss character." The room grew still. A company is not defined by its tallest building, nor by its largest contracts. It is defined by the way its people treat one another. Several executives shifted uncomfortably. They remembered yesterday's inspection. Chairman Carter continued. "Yesterday, many believed they were being evaluated on business performance. They were mistaken. You were being evaluated as human beings." Silence. The chairman slowly looked across the audience. "I watched how you greeted receptionists, how you spoke to assistants, how you treated cleaners, and how you behaved toward those who possess no authority over your careers." Victor's confident smile slowly disappeared. The chairman raised one hand. A large screen lit up. Security footage began playing. The first clip showed a young intern dropping hundreds of documents. Executives walked past without stopping. Then Daniel appeared. Without hesitation, he knelt and helped gather every file. The next clip showed Daniel helping elderly janitor Mr. Lewis carry heavy supplies. Another showed him holding an elevator door for security staff. Another showed him quietly repairing equipment long after his shift should have ended. The hall remained silent. No dramatic speeches. No applause, only simple acts of kindness. Then the final video appeared. Victor Lang, ordering Daniel to mop an already spotless floor, mocking his position, laughing while others joined him. Gasps echoed across the hall. Victor's face turned pale. He immediately stood. "Chairman, I can explain." Chairman Carter calmly raised his hand. "No, you've already explained, with your actions." Victor slowly sat back down. For the first time in years, he felt truly afraid. Chairman Carter looked toward the audience. "Tell me, which employee contributed more to this company yesterday? The executive who humiliated another person, or the maintenance worker who quietly helped everyone around him?" No one answered, because everyone already knew. The chairman smiled gently. "Exactly." He turned toward Director Evans. "Please invite our final guest." The director nodded. He spoke into his radio. "Bring him in, outside." Supervisor Harris looked confused as two board members approached. "Where's Daniel Carter?" Daniel stepped forward. "I'm here." "The chairman requests your presence." The maintenance team froze. "The chairman?" Daniel smiled politely. "I understand." He removed his work gloves, wiped the dust from his hands, straightened his simple maintenance uniform, then calmly walked toward the assembly hall. Inside, the massive doors slowly opened. Every executive turned to look. Whispers immediately spread through the room. "The maintenance worker, why is he here? What is happening?" Victor couldn't stop laughing. "This has to be a joke." Even Isabella looked confused. Daniel entered without fear, without pride, without hesitation. He quietly stopped a few feet from the stage. Chairman Carter stepped down from the podium. The entire hall held its breath. The elderly chairman walked directly toward the maintenance worker. Everyone expected instructions, perhaps a reward, perhaps a public compliment. Instead, Chairman Carter stopped in front of Daniel. His eyes softened. For a long moment, neither man spoke. Then, the chairman smiled. "You've kept your promise." Daniel smiled back. "I told you I wanted to earn respect before receiving it." A wave of confusion swept through the audience. What promise? What were they talking about? The chairman nodded proudly. "And after 5 years, you have." Without another word, the elderly chairman extended his hand. Daniel accepted it respectfully. The two men shook hands. Then something unbelievable happened. Chairman Carter slowly stepped aside, turned toward the board of directors, and bowed his head slightly to Daniel. Every director immediately did the same. One after another, the most powerful leaders in Sterling Group bowed respectfully toward the man wearing a maintenance uniform. The audience stared in stunned silence. Hundreds of executives rose to their feet without even realizing they had done so. Victor's mouth fell open. Isabella couldn't believe what she was seeing. No one understood. Not yet. Chairman Carter finally faced the audience. His voice echoed through the silent hall. For 5 years, this young man asked me to keep his identity hidden. He wanted to discover who respected people without knowing their status. The hall became deathly quiet. Every heartbeat seemed louder than the last. The chairman looked proudly at Daniel. "Allow me to introduce my grandson." The room exploded with shock. Victor stumbled backward into his chair. Managers looked at one another in disbelief. Several employees covered their mouths. Isabella felt the color drain from her face. Her husband, the quiet maintenance worker she had believed was ordinary, was standing beside the chairman. But before anyone could recover, Chairman Carter raised one finger. And that is only half of the truth. The entire hall froze again. Daniel lowered his eyes with quiet humility. He knew exactly what his grandfather was about to reveal next. And by the time those final words were spoken, nothing inside Sterling Group would ever be the same again. The Grand Assembly Hall was so silent that the hum of the air conditioners became impossible to ignore. Hundreds of executives stared at Daniel Carter, the maintenance worker. The man they had ignored, the man they had laughed at, the man standing beside the chairman. Chairman Carter slowly looked across the room. "I told you that Daniel is my grandson." He paused. "But that is only half of the truth." Every eye remained fixed on the stage. The chairman continued. 3 years ago, I announced to my family that the next chairman of Sterling Group would not inherit this company through blood. A massive screen behind him displayed a single sentence. "Leadership must be earned." I gave every member of my family the same opportunity. They could spend 5 years living as ordinary employees, no special treatment, no family name, executive offices, no privileged salaries. They would begin at the bottom. The audience listened in complete silence. Whoever best understood the people of this company would inherit it. Another image appeared. Photographs of luxurious parties, expensive sports cars, private yachts. Chairman Carter sighed. "My relatives lasted weeks. Some laughed nervously. Others survived a few months. They wanted authority, they wanted recognition, but they didn't want to earn either." The screen changed one final time. A single employee file appeared. Employee name, Daniel Carter position, maintenance technician years of service, 5 attendance, perfect complaints filed against others, 0 disciplinary actions, 0 employee commendations. 187 gasps spread through the hall. 187 commendations. Most executives had never received even one. Chairman Carter smiled proudly. He never once asked for special treatment. He never revealed his name. And he never used my position to solve his problems. He looked at Daniel. "You passed every test." The old man turned toward the audience. "I therefore officially appoint Daniel Carter as the next chairman and chief executive officer of Sterling Group." For a moment, no one moved. Then the board of directors stood. One by one, they applauded. Soon the entire hall rose to its feet. The applause echoed through the building. Only 2 people remained seated, Victor Lang and Isabella Sterling. Neither could believe what had just happened. Victor's hands trembled. This isn't possible. He remembered every insult, every order, every cruel joke, every time he had mocked Daniel. His future collapsed before his eyes. Chairman Carter looked toward Human Resources. "Bring me Mr. Lang's employment file." Within seconds, the file was placed in his hands. The chairman calmly closed it again. "I don't need to read it." He looked directly at Victor. "Yesterday I asked whether you knew how to lead. Today, I have my answer." Victor stood abruptly. "Chairman, please, I've devoted years to this company." Chairman Carter interrupted gently. "No, you devoted years to your own ambition. You confused fear with respect and authority with superiority." He turned toward the HR director. "Effective immediately. Victor Lang is dismissed from Sterling Group." The room fell silent. Security officers approached. Victor looked desperately toward Isabella. "Say something." She lowered her eyes. For the first time, she had nothing to defend. Without another word, Victor walked out of the assembly hall. The same hallway where he once mocked a maintenance worker, he now left carrying only a cardboard box. The applause gradually faded. Chairman Carter smiled at Daniel. "Would you like to address everyone?" Daniel nodded once. He stepped toward the podium. He looked across hundreds of nervous faces. Then he smiled. "I won't begin by talking about profits." A few employees exchanged surprised glances. "I've spent 5 years cleaning these hallways. I've repaired broken lights. I've fixed leaking pipes. I've eaten lunch beside cleaners, security guards, receptionists, and interns." He paused. "And during those 5 years, I discovered something." He looked toward the audience. "The strongest people in this company are often the ones nobody notices." Silence filled the hall. A cleaner who stays late so everyone else can work comfortably. A receptionist who remembers every employee's name. A security guard who protects people he'll never meet again. An intern brave enough to admit a mistake. They are not invisible. They are the foundation of this company. Many employees lowered their heads. Some quietly wiped away tears. Daniel continued. "Today, Sterling Group begins a new chapter. No employee will ever be judged by a job title, only by character. The hall erupted into applause once again. This time, it lasted several minutes. After the assembly ended, employees gathered throughout the headquarters. For the first time, maintenance workers ate lunch beside executives. Managers thanked receptionists. Department heads introduced themselves to security guards by name. The culture of the company began changing that very day. Not because people feared the new chairman, because they finally understood what he valued. Late that afternoon, Daniel stood alone on the rooftop garden overlooking the city. The skyline glowed beneath the setting sun. Soft footsteps approached behind him. He already knew who it was, Isabella. She stopped beside him. Neither spoke for several seconds. Finally, she broke the silence. "I owe you an apology." Daniel looked toward the horizon. "You don't owe me anything. I judged you. I believed your position defined your worth." She laughed softly at herself. "The irony is, I never even tried to know the man I married." Daniel smiled gently. "Our marriage wasn't exactly traditional." She nodded. "No, it wasn't." She hesitated before asking, "Did you know who I was when we first met?" "Yes." "And you still returned my wallet without telling me." "I wasn't returning it to Vice President Sterling. I was returning it to someone who had lost it." Those simple words touched her more deeply than any expensive gift ever could. She realized something painful. The richest man she had ever met had also been the humblest. Weeks later, Sterling Group held its annual Employee Appreciation Gala. For the first time in company history, maintenance workers, cleaners, receptionists, drivers, assistants, executives, and board members all entered through the same front doors. No separate entrances, no reserved status, only reserved respect. Chairman Daniel Carter stood on stage beside his grandfather. Chairman Emeritus Carter smiled proudly. "You've done what I hoped." Daniel looked across thousands of employees. "We've done it together." The old chairman nodded. "I can retire peacefully now." As the evening came to an end, Daniel and Isabella walked through the headquarters lobby together. She looked at him with a warm smile. "So, Mr. Chairman?" He laughed. "I've always preferred Daniel." She slipped her hand into his. "Then, Daniel, would you be willing to start over?" He looked at the woman beside him, not the vice president, not the wealthy heiress, just Isabella, the woman who had found the courage to admit she had been wrong. He smiled. "I'd like that." Together they stepped outside into the cool evening air. The city lights stretched endlessly before them. This time, there were no secrets, no disguises, no invisible walls between people. Only two individuals choosing to build something real, this time with honesty, humility, and respect. Because true greatness is never measured by the title on a business card. It is measured by the way a person treats those who have nothing to offer in return. The end.